I mean, when it's only two people though, it's not as bad. Like we could both go without them because it's two of us. Now, when I have more than two people, I like having it like this, how I have now, just because I can hear how the room sounds and then I can hear how it sounds on here.
Got it.
Because it's easier to control everyone talking and shit. Because anything more than two people, if you're not aware of people talking over each other and how it sounds, like maybe, you know, that mic is a little different because that mic, you gotta like, this is a good mic, right? Like people often ask me like, yo, I want to get into podcasting. What kind of mic should I get? And I'm like, yo, you should get this one. This is like about $100. These go for like $400 or $500.
These are cool.
These are like super professional. But with this mic, you have to talk to it square into it. If you start talking like that, then you can't really hear it that well.
Like the reporters like in...
Yeah, that's why they put the mic right in your face, because you really need to talk square into the mic. So I just gave you a history lesson on microphone, son.
There you go. If I ever try to start my own podcast, let's say if I have my own time in my day. I don't have.
Dude, you know what's crazy?
Talk to me.
I've been waiting to do a show with you for a while. My audience, though this is the first time that you've been on the pod, knows who you are.
That's like... It's cool because like I get involved, but I'd never been on a podcast before. This is my first
time.
I swear, yeah, you took my podcast virginity.
Let's go. Give me that shit, son. Yo, the reason why is because you're the reason, swear to God, you're the reason why I got into shape. I'm not kidding.
Tough love.
Our birthdays are a day apart.
Yeah, you always let me know that since 6th grade.
I'm like, yo, wish daddy a happy birthday. You're like, yo, fuck you, man. Or the best is like, if we don't talk for a couple of months, you'll text me on my birthday, and then I'll be like, oh, thanks, bro. And then you're like, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, man.
Fuck you. I remember we were in 6th grade at 141, and you walked me down, and you're like, I was like, we're friends. And you put your arm around me, you're like, remember who's always older. I'm like, fuck you. Piece of shit.
By a couple, like 16, 17 hours.
Who knows? My mom could have like popped me out earlier.
Yo, so I got Peter here, Peter Touros. You're doing a lot of fun stuff. I think some of the stuff that you're doing right now is, I'm a fan of it because I think it's perfect for what you're doing right now. But I got to tell a story as to why like you inspired me to lose weight, because I think it was our 24th or 25th birthday.
In the beer garden?
Yeah. So I see you and we're like hanging out and shit. I think your cousin was there too. Steve, not Steven, but Steve One Duo is Petey's cousin. That's how Steve and I are close because we used to play soccer together and shit. We'll tell some of those stories. But Petey comes up to me and we're like hanging out and shit and we're drinking and whatnot. And Petey just comes up to me and goes, yo, bro, you know I care about you, right? I'm like, yeah. And then you go, you know I love you, right? And I'm like, yeah, bro. I'm like, what's up? And you're like, dude, you're fucking fat. I was like, I know, man. I put on some weight. You're like, nah, bro, you're a fat fuck. And I needed to hear that because I've always been someone where I need to hear shit like that. Like, I don't get offended by it. I don't get all, like, caught up and like, oh, fuck Petey, man. I was just like, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's the friendship that we had. Though we would never lie to each other.
Yeah,
we're always honest. Like there's no bullshit. Like what was awesome was I texted you. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be a little late, and you're like, oh, I'm on my 5th mile. I was so happy to see that. I can't do that anymore, but like more power to you. But I mean, when you love somebody, you want to make sure that you take care of them. And like if I get fat, you better text me and say, you fat piece of shit, you better get back in shape. So I'll expect that text in like 2 months.
Well, the best thing is like, and I'm sure a lot of people have friends like that where, you know, even growing up, like we played soccer together. We went to junior high school together, and like our teams were like rivals, right? Pan Cyprian and Cosmos. We didn't fuck with each other.
No, we didn't. But we never played each other.
We never played each other. It was the weirdest thing. And then I remember we played in the Greek Olympics together.
Oh my goodness!
Remember that shit?
Where we wore the yellow shirts and we Sharpied everything.
Yo, and we did it like I think like James played with us. Shout to James, and he's like, you know, don't worry. Greek. I mean, hey, it's been 20 years, so congrats.
Yeah, we cheated.
Come take the medals. I don't even know where they are. We lie, cheat, and steal, baby. That's what we have to do. But yo, like we put a team in, and I forgot who we played for, but it was all Cosmos kids. Like St. It was D's. Like yeah, we played for St. D's. Mm-hmm. But it was like all Cosmos kids, and then it was like me that was not a part of Cosmos. And like I came to play.
I think you came after that.
I came to play after, and I came, you were like, yo, bro, you're like the only Greek kid I know that doesn't play for Cosmos that I'm like cool with. Would you want to come and play with us? Yada, yada. And then that's when I played with you guys, and my dad came to the games.
I remember that.
And my dad, after the tournament, was like, yo, we fucking mollywop teams. We beat this. Like it was like USA women's versus, who they played?
Angola, who knows?
Nah, when they played, what was the game when like they beat them 13-0? Taiwan?
Thailand. It was Thailand.
We were putting ass whoopings out. Like, everyone was Thailand, son. And we were the women's team. We were violating them. And then my dad comes up after one of the games. Like, yo, I remember, son, I'll never forget this. Like, you either played across or, like, John Gordon, shouts to Gordon, played across. And you did, like, the step over. We're 12, 13 years old. You did, like, the step over where it just goes through your legs. And I come in one touch it, score a goal. We're doing great like we played for years. My dad goes, you're never playing for Pan Cyprian again.
That's it. We won your heart over.
He's like, you got to play with these guys. They know what they're doing. You got to play with them. And then that's when us two really got close, though.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we first started talking, like, I remember you played for the other team, but there was no like beef or hate. It's like,
no, because we went to school together.
We went to school together. We had mutual friends. We all hung out. We played football together. Remember, we always used to play football. So it's like, there was no hate, but like, you were just that one missing piece that we needed. That we're like, we need this guy. He's big. You were strong. You were powerful. You had a kick. I remember you had one of the hardest kicks on the team. You could send the ball flying anywhere. You had a good set piece too. So it's like, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna try to get this kid on our team. So we just kept pushing and pushing. We eventually got you.
Yeah, man. And then that's when I really started to learn how to play soccer, and we ended up going to rival high schools also.
LSE versus.
Yeah, and we would play each other twice a year. And those are always fun because anytime someone would like hack PD on my team, I'd like go and like pick you up and shit. And I'd be like, yo, chill. I would tell them like, yo, chill on number 7, right? James, chill on James and PD. All right, everyone else can get this work, but like, you know, act right.
Dude, what about Brighton? How you had that no corner flag? You couldn't take the corner kick from the one side of the field. You had to take it to the other side of the field. But you had a turf field, though.
Yeah.
Like a new turf field.
Well, you had the worst field ever, son.
God.
How bad was that field? Explain to people what that field was like.
Oh, my Lord. If you want to know what it was cement with rough AstroTurf on top of it. Then we had the baseball mounds that were higher. It used to flood all the time. And then when the ball went in there, I was like, you know what? I'm not getting into it. I didn't get stuck into tackles. You slid. You messed up your whole leg for like months.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad. And you fell on the floor. You cracked it. It was bad. It was a huge field. You could knock the ball around, but like once that ball got bouncing, it was like bouncing on an indoor surface. It was bad.
Bro, it was concrete with a bed sheet over it.
Yeah, that's all it was. And like the rough turf too, the old school one.
Yeah, like AstroTurf.
They don't even. It's illegal to have that stuff now.
Yeah, no kidding. That's fucking New York City public school
at its finest.
Yeah, that shit was horrible, bro. I remember I played one game there, and then I played 2 games there on that field when we played LIC my freshman and sophomore year, and then we played in my senior year in football. And man, I remember I was getting blown up in that game. We lost like 30-7, and
do you remember the score?
We lost by like 3 touchdowns. I remember, and I remember we scored on the last play of the game. And like I remember the dudes on LIC were pissed because they really wanted to like shut out Brian, and we were going hard. We're like, yo, we can't get shut out by them. Like it was the worst game ever.
It was a big school rivalry.
Yeah,
it was a big school rivalry.
Well, we're on the same avenue, like Broadway.
Yeah,
is
travel straight up.
The back of LIC, the front of LIC is the back of Bryant. So we started like playing soccer and shit together, and then like our rival schools. And how'd you get into playing soccer? I don't know if I ever asked you this. I know your dad is like a legend, but a good legend.
Yeah, of course. But like, how did I get playing soccer? I mean, it's embedded in us. Like my dad played when he was back home. He played professionally when he was home, and then he came over here on a D1 scholarship, brought his brothers over, and then obviously my mom and my dad, they had kids, and my dad was working, and he sent us off, and we were playing at the local club, and he's like, why am I sending my kids to a local club that they're like volunteer coaches and nobody's really teaching them and they're not learning the right way? And my kids are pretty good, not being biased. He's like, I have the experience. Why don't I create my own club and jumpstart something where I can do something for my own kids and interact with them and be with them? So he started Cosmos in 1996. And I'll never forget, the team was birth year 1989s, 88s, 90s, 91s, 92s, and he made one team with 5 different age groups. And it was me, Thotoka, Dimitri, my older brother. John Gordon came a couple years later. Some kids that moved to Greece, like the Bata brothers. But it was just one big team, and we just found a bunch of local kids that wanted to play, and then that's how we really, really started. But I grew up playing in Con Edison with Bagibrio first. And then, like, my dad's like, you know what, screw it. Let me just make my own club. No offense to Bagibrio, but he's like, I want to teach my kids, and that's the way we bonded, and that's how it's been ever since.
Yeah, nah, and Cosmos with a K.
Cosmos with a K.
Because I know I wouldn't, but when people would ask me, like, who I was, grew up and played for, and I would say Cosmos, they'd be like,
they have a youth team?
Yeah, professionally? I was like, nah, man, with the K. That's a cool story, dude. I didn't know your dad played D1.
Yeah, he played at LAU. I didn't know a lot of things. My dad also coached. My dad played D1. They went to NCAAs. He coached at Columbia. They made it to the Final Four. I'm like, he has like a plaque. He didn't care about the accolades. He has a championship ring still hanging out in the school that he never went to go picked up. I'm like, okay. I see like photos, and it was crazy.
And he was a goalie, right?
Yeah, but growing up, I thought he was a forward because he was just like bomb. He scored so many goals while in the men's league. I'm like, Dad, you're such a good forward. I'm going to be a forward like you. And then I would look at the photos of when he played professional, and I'm like, why are you in the goal? Why are you making saves? Because I was a goalkeeper. I'm like, since when?
Yo, and your dad was like our height, right? He's
My
not really
dad is
like,
shorter than us. My dad is 5'7", 5'8".
Bro, I remember one time we were warming up, and your dad was warming up with your brother.
Which one, Dimitri?
Yeah. And like people were taking shots on like Dimitri, and he showed him something, and someone took like a free kick, and it was going like upper 90, and your dad leaped. Mind you, I don't know how old your dad was in like 2005, 2006. Just made like a crazy leap, one-handed fucking Oliver Kahn style, and tips it over with no gloves on. I was like, what the? This guy's superhuman.
Yeah, it's like stupid genetics.
Your dad was in better shape than we were in our prime playing.
I'm telling you, he still plays now. He's 65 years old. He still plays. If it wasn't for his knee to be completely blown out, he'd be in shape. He runs, he kicks, he does everything. He's not like limping around. The guy's a super freak. I have no idea how we came out of him.
Yeah, bro, for real. He would just like run laps and like always like just be in mad good shape and conditioning. Your dad is like super fascinating because he started that academy that like, Cosmos, and now you're doing something where I think right now what you're doing is perfect for you. And I know it's like in a way it's sort of like a legacy thing, taking over for your pops.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, you named it after it. What's the name of this academy that you got right now?
So I have TST, which is a training organization. It's called TST Soccer Training, which is our last name. It's pretty generic, pretty simple. It's just I didn't know what else to call it. And we started off basically like coaching kids in Long Island, because in Long Island, it's not like in the city where like everyone knows how to play soccer because we're all foreign and immigrants. In Long Island, it's like you're a town team. You're a volunteer and you don't know anything about coaching, so you hire trainers. That's why it's a training company. So we started out there, and it was nice. We got some gigs. We ended up getting like 15 to 20 teams in 1 year. Over the span of like 4 or 5 years. But then I'm like, why don't we just tone it down from TST and going out and helping other clubs and continue to grow our own club, which is Cosmos. So that's where we're at right now. So
what do you mean by helping out other clubs?
So basically, like, for example, when we first started, I started with 5 futsal players, really, really high-level players. I guarantee you they're all going to get D1 scholarships. They're actually about to graduate within the next year and a half. And
how long has TST been around now?
I would say this is the 8th year.
8th year.
7th or 8th year now.
Nice.
Like formally, like officially as a company.
Huh. Interesting. And these kids you had from the beginning? So
I had those 5 kids, and it was just like a group of guys. They kind of like headhunted me. They're like, hey, you're a good trainer. I was in track to be a phys ed teacher, so I already had that talk and that style to myself, and I thought differently than just regular coaching. Like regular coaches, like just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're a good coach. You have to know how to interact with kids. You have to learn how they learn. They understand how they think. So I started with these 5 kids. Went to a bunch of futsal tournaments, built a reputation, and then they're like, oh, your reputation's really good in Long Island. I want you to coach for Belmore Soccer Club. I want you to take a team in New Hyde Park Soccer Club, and then it grows from there and there. You hire guys under you.
Now you're training these teams?
That's all you do. You show up. It's not like how you were, like you and I are used to, where like the coach is the trainer and the trainer comes to the game. Like I would just show up, train them on the weekdays for an hour and a half. And then the parent coach will coach them on the weekends. And if they want you to come, you'll come and show up on the weekends. And it's an hourly rate that you basically get paid. But you're like the trainer. You work on everything like you work on as if it was your regular coach, like my dad used to do with us.
Yeah.
But you just won't coach unless they want you to come in and coach on
the
weekend.
Now, when you first started, I'm assuming you just had one team that you were coaching.
Yeah, the first ever TST team was just a futsal team, 5-on-5. It was
Okay.
like 7 kids. We practiced in some gym in Long Island, and the dad was like, "Hey, you're really good at this. You're young. You're very different from all these other coaches that are on Long Island that supposedly are these."
Yeah,
big
because you
wigs."
also grew up in the city and you weren't
Yeah.
a soft bitch.
Yeah, shout out to Long Island.
Shout out to
people.
Long Island. I lived out there for like 10 years too.
Yeah, right?
My friends always light me up, bro. They're like, "Yo, you're no longer
Queens."
Queens, bro." I'm like, "Yo, fuck out of here." That's why I had to move
Dude.
back. Pete.
Well, I mean, I had to move out. I couldn't stand the parking. But I mean, look, you're here for 20 years,
Yeah,
so you're Queens.
yeah. Thank you.
No
for that
problem, bro.
cosign. So you start coaching and well, more so training, right?
Training, just
All right.
training.
So
weekdays.
that's all of year one. How many months are you with these teams?
So that futsal team, I did them only in the winter.
Okay.
I did them in the winter. It was off season. Their club teams were on off season. And then after that winter, it's like a domino effect. One person's like, "Hey, I know you coach my nephew. Hey, I know you coach my other kid. Oh, you coach this kid? He's a really good player. I want you to coach this team or this kid."
Can I tell you something that I've learned over the years? That's the best form of recommendation.
Yeah. Advertising. You don't advertise anymore. It's word of mouth.
And I respect that more. Like if you call me and you're like, "Yo, bro, I just bought this new fucking, I don't know, fryer and it's sick." Like that means more to me than if Tom Brady's advertising that fryer. Like I
Yeah.
get blown away when athletes or celebrities endorse a product and they get paid for it. I don't get mad at the athlete.
No.
I get mad at like people that get mad at the athlete for endorsing it. It's like, to me, I never looked at Eli Manning wearing a watch and being like, "Yo, I'm gonna get it because Eli got it." Like, I don't know. That's just me.
I never thought like that either. Like,
I'm more of
some
peer
people-
to peer.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like I feel like you have to think of yourself. A lot of people I feel like are mindless and it's like, "Oh, this person likes it, I'm gonna like it too. This celebrity has it, I should have it too." It's like, how are you so easily influenced? I bet you have opinion of yourself.
Right. Right. Or you find someone's opinion, like those people that are saying my
Yeah.
nephew had you, yada yada. So from that winter, you go into spring. How many teams are you having now?
From that, so I always stayed true to my roots. I always coached at Cosmos with my dad in Flushing.
Right.
And Flushing, at the time, Cosmos was just in Flushing, the team that you and I grew up playing for.
Yeah.
We had about like 10 teams, good program, always high level kids, but we're the club of the normal. So I always coached over there 2 days a week, and then my other 3 days a week I would go to my other training sessions. So after that first winter, I ended up picking up one team in Long Island. After that one team in Long Island, that next fall, after that spring season, I picked up one Long Island team, 2 Long Island teams, one in New Hyde Park, one in Belmore, and then I continued my winter program, and then I continued in Flushing. So that's 4 groups, and that 4 turned to 6. That 6 turned to 10, and then I had to hire people under me.
When you are first starting, how many times a week are you with each team? And are there days where you're like in Flushing and then Long Island?
Yeah, so Flushing was like 2 days, Tuesdays and Thursdays standard, always since the beginning.
And
of
that's
time.
only with Cosmos?
That's only with Cosmos.
Okay.
And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm like, hey, let me fill up my schedule. So one of my groups only trained 1 day a week, and then they did like a parent coach or a parent like an open session. And then my other 2 days a week, I would go to another group, which I actually ended up working in Rockaway, which was my first step into Rockaway, which was now where the TST is blown up. But like everything happened in small increments, and then everything kind of just fell into our lap to the point where it allowed us to grow.
Yeah, man, it's a slow grind, dude. Like,
It is.
I've been doing this podcast now. August will be 7 years. I've been doing this one, but within that, I was doing another 2 podcasts, and then I was doing another podcast. So like before you know it, I'm commuting from Long Island to come down to Astoria to record in Astoria at my buddy's apartment.
Of course.
And then I'm also coming down to record my stuff at my buddy's apartment because I didn't have all this shit. You know, it wasn't until the guys stepped away from the show and I took it over where I bought the mics, I bought all this stuff and learned how to edit and do all this shit. And it's a slow grind.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a while.
But look at what's happened. Look at where you are now, and then I don't even think you can imagine where you'll be in 5 years. But you know what? Yeah, I don't. You probably thought you'd be here, but look at you now. Look how beautiful this place is, and then on top of it, in 2 years, something bigger will happen. Bigger, better, and always going to get better because it's all about the grind.
Yeah, it's all about being persistent, man. I'm very persistent in all aspects of my life. Like I'm very persistent in my work ethic, in like working out. I'm persistent with girls too, sometimes to a fault where like I become annoying. I'm also like persistent when it comes to like trying to get you on the show too.
Yeah.
Like I will hit you up and be like, following
But
up.
you know what
whatnot.
you want though. You know what you
Right,
want.
right. But it's also like I understand people are busy, right? And I don't want to waste people's time, and I don't like having my time wasted too. I'm big
course.
on like not, dude, I'm gonna be 31 at the end of the week. By the time this comes out, both our birthdays. We're gonna be 31.
We're gonna be 31.
Acting up. But yeah, man, like I don't like wasting people's time. You know what I mean? Like I'm at an age now where like I'm even more focused on everything, and there's a chance where I might be moving, out of New York. So like I'm really trying to like all my time is super structured and calculated. You saw the whiteboard, like everything is.
That's impressive though. It is. It's nice to be organized because look, we're not getting any younger, and time is only going fast. I mean, last time we hung out was probably a few years ago, and then I mean it feels like it was like yesterday.
Yeah. Well, again, that's the thing we were talking about before, where you're always the kind of friend I think of when people tell me like, oh, those friends you have that you don't see all the time, and then you see them and it's like,
standard,
right? I'm like, oh, that's Petey.
100%.
Yeah, because you were one of my first friends that I had that wasn't a part of my like friend group, like the guys I grew up with from Astoria. Like you were like the first kid that I got super close with, and I'm still friends with. That wasn't a part of that crew. Yeah, you knew everyone and you've hung out with us and shit.
Of course.
But like you weren't part of the Astoria crew that I grew up with.
Yeah. I was kind of invited into there because of like I was friends with you, and they're all great dudes and stuff. But it's like we hit it off and we became genuine friends. That was a real friendship.
Yeah.
And that's not going to change. We could be 40 years old. Shit, that's going to be in 10 years.
Stop. But yeah, like that's how it was with me and your cousin, with Steve. Because I was on Xbox with him last night when I got in. You know what I mean? Like I talk to him all the time too, and like I go out there and I hang out with him too.
It's a good time. He grew up a lot. I mean, he glowed up a lot. Remember that mustache?
Yeah. I remember when we first went to the Greece trip, man. Which the Greece trip, another thing. Like, yo, you've been a big part of my life, son. Now that I'm talking to you and thinking about this, like as far as like some moments. Like the soccer, when we went and played in Greece together in 06.
Yeah.
I remember it being 06 because that was when Italy won the World Cup, and I stayed back in Greece and watched it. I remember my dad had bet Italy to win the World Cup, and all his boys in the story were like, how are you going to bet on the Italians? We hate the Italians. Like typical Greeks and shit.
Of course, but you need to make your money, right?
Yeah. But I remember we went over there, and I played. That's the best soccer I think I ever played in like a week period. And we were playing teams from like all over Europe too, and we were playing in Greece, and it was such a good ass time. It was like the first time that was the only time I left to go play sports somewhere else. I remember your dad being like, "Yo, you're playing the best I've ever seen you play." He's like, "You really impressed me." Finally, he's like, "I've been waiting for this. I knew you."
That was like a year. That was like, was that like a year and a half, 2 years? No, more. That was more.
What?
06. How long were you on the team for?
No. I'm saying I started playing with Cosmos probably like 02, but I'm saying when I that Greece trip was when your dad was like, "This is the Nick.
This is the Nick that we've been waiting for."
Right. This is the best soccer I've seen you play. I'm like an asshole. I end up staying in Greece for 6 weeks. Don't touch a soccer ball.
Of course not.
Come back. I'm probably like 10 to 15 pounds heavier. And I remember your dad being like, "Yo, what happened?" I was just like, he's like, "Have you played any soccer?" I was like, "No." He was just like, he was sick. He was not happy with me. And then shortly after that, I play out the year at Bryant, the sophomore year. I play that out. And the quarterback, Vinny, at Bryant, who's a part of like my Astoria crew, who's a little bit older than me. We talked about it with Matt Pavich on the show a couple weeks ago. He was like, "Yo, they need a quarterback, bro. Come and play." I was like, I've never played it.
Yeah, but you were good though.
Yeah,
you were good.
Yeah, he was like, "Yo, you're nice, like in the park." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'm nice in the park, but like this is different. Learning a playbook and shit." He's like, "Yo, you'll be fine, dude. I learned how to do it. You'll be fine." And from there, fall in love with football. So it's always like, one of the questions I ask people, and I was telling you this off the air before we started recording, like, what's a big regret in your life? Because mine is, from an athletic standpoint, was stopping soccer.
Yeah.
But I can't say that. I could say that and not dwell on it and be upset, because me quitting soccer when I did led to me falling in love with football, which has given me everything that I'm doing now, which is my career. Well, so it's
a weird dynamic, because it kind of set you up for what you're currently doing, but then again, you don't know what the possibility could have been if you stuck with it, because you were at your peak.
Yeah, man. I played like really fucking good. Yo, how good was I in soccer, son?
You were solid. You were consistent. You were the one to win the tackle. you always got stuck in. You had a different dynamic to your game. You weren't like the fastest player, but what you ended up doing was you played smart on the ball. You knew to make the right pass, and somehow you had that beautiful like long ball.
Chicks take the long ball, baby. You know what I'm saying? Come on, daddy. Just like in football, you got to air that shit out, dog.
Set me up on that one.
Hell yeah.
No, but you had a perfectly paced hit where it's like if you're hitting it, you had a shot. I mean, I could only dream of a shot like you had because I shoot like a bitch, and you know that. I can't shoot for shit.
You know who puts us both under the table? Your fucking brother.
My brother.
Yo, your brother used to hit the goalpost from like the goal kicks at Bryant. Mind you, it was a smaller field, but still like 80 fucking yards.
Yeah.
And he would take goal kicks
and hit the fucking.
And like the goalie couldn't come out because he might like, you know, hit him upper 90 and shit.
Playing with D was fun, man. D would set me up on so many, like defense would come up and play at the high line. They play in the midfield, and I'm ready to pick off. They send them the long ball. It's so many assists. Many. Score off of punts. He scored off of like 3 punts in his like senior year at LIC. I'm like,
yo, I remember I got him to go and kick footballs. I was like, yo, bro, you can easily.
He should have.
I was like, bro, I would tell him this, dude, like after, I don't even remember if he went to play college, but I remember I went and played college. And then when I came back, I had seen him. I forgot where I seen him. Oh, I went and I kicked field goals at Flushing. And I was recording like a highlight tape at Flushing because they had uprights there.
Yeah.
And I remember I ran into your brother and I was like, yo, bro, you should just kick off, son. He's like, yeah, I never kicked the football. I was like, you're going to kick it out the end zone every time. Yo, you can have a career just being a kickoff guy. Like teams actually have just kickoff guys. Didn't want to do it.
I know. I mean, I he got the itch for like
I never seen a leg like that, son. Like he used to have fucking missiles. I remember one time, bro, he took a free kick when we was playing in high school, and I was on the wall, and I was shitting my pants.
I don't blame you.
I was like, yo, he's just gonna like. I can't even think of a soccer player right now that has like a missile of a shot like that. But I'm talking about like prime Roberto Carlos kind of shit. Just like
easy. I remember I was young and they used to do the thing, the shot, the
radar gun. Yeah.
Dude, they clocked him at 86 miles an hour at like 16, 15. And I'm like, holy shit. He broke a kid's hand. All right, you ready? Crazy story. BW Gotcha used to have an indoor tournament, crazy indoor tournament in Martin Luther King High School. I forgot what it was. And there was a penalty kick, and his team was playing against Gotchi, and he runs up, takes a run-out penalty kick, rips the ball. The goalie saves it, but it brings his hand into the net, jerks his hand completely, and the ball ends up going in. The kid breaks his arm. Following week, they changed the rule from that day on that you couldn't take a running start for a penalty kick because of Dimitri. He broke the kid's hand. So now you could only take a one-step shot.
Damn, I believe it, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, if I would put his shot up against anyone that I've ever seen. I've never seen someone like.
It's insane. It really is insane. Nico has a shot too. My dad, Dimitri, and Nico.
What happened to you, fam?
I slot him. I placed it in the corner.
Yeah, you were someone where I describe you as people that play soccer, and a lot of my friends will be like, "Yo, well, what kind of like soccer player was Petey?" And I'll be like, "Yo, he knows how to score." And like to the naked eye, to someone that doesn't know soccer, they'd be like, "All right, don't everybody know how to score?" It's like, nah, man. Like, if you have one chance at net, like you gotta bury that shit. And that's why I always felt like that was your strength.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like you're a striker. That's your job, to put it back in the net. And unfortunately, it's like sometimes you get into these ruts and you get in your head, and you can't afford to do that as a striker. You have to be that person. Like if you're in front of that goal, like you said, you get one chance. If you screw that up, that's your chance. Mm-hmm. That's the only chance of the game. The defense is working their ass off. Your job is to put it in the back of the net. And if you don't, you can easily find yourself on the sideline with the coach.
Yeah. Now, when you coach kids that want to be forwards, do you take more joy in that than teaching them other positions because you're teaching them what you know well?
Well, I would like to say that I'm more of an offensive mind coach because biasly I am an offensive mind coach. I like the structure and I teach them how to move in the back and whatnot. But like I get joy from being an attacking team and a high pressing team and counterattack and runs and how to finish. Majority of my stuff is built on offensive, but we have to piece in together the defensive. We try to teach them all aspects of the game.
Yeah,
but I like to do an offensive.
Nah, of course, man. When I go and like I've been asked a couple times to go and like do some like kicking stuff for certain schools in the city because like a lot of the guys that I either played with or even like my former coach, Coach Hernandez, he's now at Bayside. and Brosnan ended up coaching somewhere else a little bit. Well, he's like a substitute teacher at another school when he left Bryant, and then he got cool with the football coach. He's like, yo, my old quarterback, he was a hell of a quarterback, but he also was like, you know, he went to college to kick and whatnot. So I would go there and like teach him some stuff and show him. And then like, you know, like I love watching quarterbacks like fundamentals, like because I never can impress you with like size and arm strength. Like I can't throw a ball more than like 50 yards. Like standing, if you ask me to stand and throw a ball as far as I can, I'm not going to impress you at all. But I can throw far when I have guys like in a game. Like in a game and I have a guy running and I can. Yeah, like there I might throw like, there was one time I threw a pass, bro. It had to have gone like 60 yards. And my friends were like, yo, we didn't think you could reach. Like I overthrew my friend. And when he came back, I was like, yo, what happened? He's like, yo, honestly, bro, I didn't think you could reach. I was like, all right, cool. Like I took that as like a compliment.
Yeah, that's a compliment, of course.
And then as we were looking back, I was like, yo, I can't believe I threw that far. So like I wasn't someone ever that when I would go to these football camps, I would have to do things like I had great footwork. I had
that's
great
from the
awareness.
soccer.
Yes.
From the soccer.
Yes. In the pocket, moving around, hips. Like even now when I do jiu-jitsu, they're like, yo, you have amazing hips. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I don't even know what that means.
You know what that
really.
means, exactly.
Yeah, do you know?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Soccer.
Right. I guess so. So it's like, I always had to, you know, I learned how to have a high release in football because I was shorter and I would have guys blocking the ball. So I was able to like work with quarterbacks that are undersized. So it's like little fundamentals like that. So when I go and like I'll go back to Bryant often and I'll visit some of the old coaches and Vinny's the coach over there. I went to LIC once because I played with Solomon and Sam. I played football with them. And I'm actually in a group chat with them. Our season starts up in 2 weeks. So I've gone back there and I've like worked with the quarterback. They coach flag football at Martin Luther King. I had Sam on the show and he was talking about how like flag football for girls is going to become an NCAA scholarship kind of sport.
Really?
Yeah, it's becoming
PSAL
huge.
It's a huge PSAL.
Yeah, and they coach at Martin Luther King and we went to like this clinic together and I was just working with the quarterback. So like the reason why I'm telling you all this stuff is because I totally understand what you mean by like, yeah, I'm teaching them defense. Like I taught some corners like mad basic shit about like lining up in certain ways and like picking up on like tendencies, but I'm using my offensive mind to tell them like, yo, when a wide receiver is going to do this, chances are he's going to do this when they line up. You know what I'm saying? But it's still using your offense to explain the defense.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself doing that also?
100%, because I always try to put it into the point where it's like, what is the offensive thinking? So it's like if you're the defender and you have to think about it with your offensive brain. So like if you're being attacked, if I'm pushing the ball to my left-hand side, I'm going to want you to bite on that left so I can go right. So you have to adjust your hips. You have to make sure you're showing them the line. You try to get them out of the way. But then there's the next layer of where's the next pass? Where's the next player? But I always try to go through the psyche of the offensive player is thinking this, so you must think this. So, or if you were on offense, what would your goal be? It'll be ABC. Okay, since it's ABC, how would you counter or how would you defend ABC? So exactly what you're thinking. Offense to teach the defense.